Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated Legacy action. Final Fantasy has just come to Magic Online as I'm recording this, so I am playing some brand new cards at the request of a donor. So what we're doing today is, the donor wanted to see Traveling Chocobo. So this is a 3-mana 3/2 bird. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may play lands and cast bird spells from the top of your library. If a land or a bird you control entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So this is kind of wanting us to play around landfall. We've already seen that there's some good landfall stuff in Legacy. Scythecat Cub is a well-known Legacy beatdown card at this point. So we're kind of leaning into this, but we're also leaning into the bird synergies a little bit with Traveling Chocobo. There is a card that does both of these things, which is the Sazh's Chocobo. So it's a 1-mana 0/1 landfall. We get a counter on this. So this is just going to grow as the game goes on. It's a bird, so it's going to trigger our bird synergies, and it plays into landfall. We have Birds of Paradise. This is a bird that triggers our bird synergies, and also in a deck that looks like this, you want to be able to ramp out your 2-drop, and then sometimes ramp out Green Sun Zenith into other things. There's 2 other birds in the list. We have a Nadu Winged Wisdom. So if we're putting counters on stuff, like off of Scythecat Cub, then Nadu Winged Wisdom is pretty good, because we just get to draw a bunch of extra cards, get more landfall triggers, and go wild. Obviously, it's a bird, so we can play off the top with Traveling Chocobo. Pretty nice. Then we have Mockingbird, which can be a bird version of Scythecat Cub. And then our landfalls can trigger twice. So there's some pretty cool stuff going on in here. We've got ourselves a playset of Swords to Plowshares, because we're just slightly dipping into white, so we may as well get some plows in there. And then we're kind of sewing this whole thing together with some Green Sun Zenith action. So obviously we have the Dryad Arbor. We've got a few other silver bullets we can go for. So we've got a Keen-Eyed Curator for a bit of graveyard hate. Same with an Endurance. We have a Collector Ouphe, which we can just shut down the graveyard decks. Then we have a couple of new cards. Bartz and Boko. This is a 5-mana 4/3 affinity for birds. When it enters, each other bird you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature and opponent controls. So this can sometimes just be like a one-sided wrath if we get this. Then we have Choco, Seeker of Paradise. This is a 1 and a Bant for a 3/5 bird. Whenever one or more birds you control attack, look at that many cards at the top of your library. You may put one of them into your hand, then any number of land cards from among them onto the battlefield tapped. So this can put a reasonable amount of lands in, which can then trigger more landfall stuff. And obviously this has the landfall +1/+0 ability itself. The last thing in this little package is the Sylvan Safekeeper. I should have moved it over here. So we also have a Sylvan Safekeeper, which can start triggering our Nadu stuff as well as protecting our creatures. And that's pretty nice to have. Our mana base is pretty fetch hand heavy so that we can get all our double landfall triggers. We do have a one-off Cavern of Souls to name birds every now and then, which is pretty cool. We have a forest and an island. We're not playing a basic plains because we're not really about that life. We've got 3 Savannahs as our white sources here. I did have a Tundra in an earlier version of this, but I ended up cutting it because we are pretty green-centric for the most part. Sideboard-wise, we've got a few more white cards in Deafening Silence and Prismatic Ending. Obviously, Deafening Silence for some of the combo decks. We've got ourselves some Endurances, so we've got a bit more Graveyard Hate. Some Force of Vigors for the Artifact decks. And then we've got ourselves a Ramunap Excavator and some Wastelands. So if Wastelands are good, we board in the Wastelands, we board in the Ramunap Excavator for our Green Sun Zenith, and then we can just set up Wasteland locks against certain decks. That is what we're trying to do today. I think there's some good stuff here. I think there's some stuff that I have no idea how good it's going to be, and there's some stuff here that's cute. And let's just see how it all comes together in our first foray into this new Final Fantasy set. Please remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss me playing with any of the new cards. And let's get jamming. If you're going to MagicCon Las Vegas this year, from the 20th of June to the 22nd of June, you can catch my sponsor 3-for-1 Trading there. They'll be buying up collections as well as selling some well-priced singles to help you get all that sweet legacy goodness that you need for your deck. We are on the play for round 1, which is exactly where we want to be. We have Birds of Paradise. I would like to have some more mana here, but I will keep this. We've got, what, 22 lands on our decks, Mana Dorks and Green Sun Zeniths. I believe we're relatively odds on here. I think this should be a Savannah, but it does leave us a little bit cold to Wasteland. I would like to be able to cast this Plow. I don't believe our opponent's going to be able to answer our birds and our Savannah in one turn cycle. Ancient Tomb. So we're going to see some kind of Challenge to the Void. Okay, Mox Diamond. So we might be looking at like Green-White Depths. Expedition Map. Sure, they can immediately crack this with the Ancient Tomb if they wish. Sphere of Resistance. You got it. We really need to find a land in a big way. Show me the land. Well, it is the thing I asked for. So I will Hedge Maze here. A Green Sun's End. This is kind of like a land. If you squint it, a little funny. I think I will... Nah, I can't keep it. I have to look for lands. Us throwing that away might tell our opponent something about what our mana situation currently looks like. So hopefully we can fire off this Swords to Plowshares in this turn cycle and take something good with it. So maybe they play something like a Knight of the Reliquary that we can hit with a Swords to Plowshares. That feel pretty good. An Urza's Saga, sure. We're going to be seeing Blood Moon shenanigans from our opponent's deck. Green mana, so probably not. Malevolent Rumble. This is probably just going to be like a traditional lands looking deck. So they're going to get a Thespian Stage in hand, and then they're going to put these things into the bin. Okay. Am I Swords to Plowsharing an Eldrazi Spawn token? Probably not. Then we're just going to take our turn and hopefully have a good time. I did not have the good time I was hoping for. Right, we can get our Scythecat Cub down. Now we can start doing Nadu stuff. That should go over the top of a lot of things our opponent can do. Now we don't go as heavily into Nadu as some decks because we're not playing the Nomads. This is just a cool bird that is pretty good on rate and has some synergy with some of the stuff we're doing. Like, probably we're supposed to lean harder into it, but I think this is fine. Now, there's a lot of damage coming our opponent's way off this Ancient Tomb this game, but we haven't been able to capitalize on it yet. Life from Loam, Thespian Stage, Forest, Yavimaya. None of those are too scary. Like, this Urza's Saga is kind of spooky. So if we draw a fetch land, we can make our club pretty large, but they will be able to shut it down with things like a Maze of Ith. And the Wastelands are in our sideboard, and they're probably coming in for this matchup. So if we draw a fetch land this turn and a fetch land next turn, then we're absolutely cooking. Urza's Saga, sure. So I'm probably just going to crack this map. Fetch land, that is certainly one of the things I wanted to see. So let's cast another little pussycat here to start ramping up this damage. Let's play this. We will target this with both of them. So we double the counters to 4, and then we double the counters to 8. So that's 10 trample damage we're sending our opponent this turn, if that's what we want to do. It seems like a pretty good opportunity to get a big hit of damage in, and then we can try and go wide afterwards. We need a land to make this Nadu work anyway, so there's no point holding on to this now. And they're blocking with the Eldrazi Spawn token. Let's crack this. What are we going to find? Does it matter? I don't think I want to be taken off of... I don't really want to take off of either colour, to be honest. Maybe we just get the Dryad Arbor here, because it is... Oh, I guess Tabernacle is something we have to be aware of as well off this expedition map. So maybe it's just a Savannah. So we're going to get in for a big old hit of damage here. And this creature will be big enough to tangle with any sort of Urza's Saga shenanigans. So we're going to get trample over for 9 here. Right, they're going to sack this. So we're going to trample over for 10. Right, they're just going to make a 4-4 rather than expedition mapping. But now they're on 4 life. So this Ancient Tomb is quite a precarious proposition. Can make a construct here without tapping the Ancient Tomb. Draw a fetch land. We probably don't even play the Nadu. We probably just play the Scythecat Cub, play the land, get 3 triggers, and then we just have a lot of bodies that can all be lethal. Okay, Mox Diamond, getting rid of the Yavimaya, which we saw them put into the hand earlier. So they got 6/6s, but the problem is, I guess they can make one more 6/6, but we have a flying Birds of Paradise, which we can just put the hurt on with, in theory. There is Thespian Stage that we knew about. There is an Exploration. So they can play a land here and still activate their construct. But they are dead to a land off the top of our deck, because we can just make our Birds of Paradise be big enough. And they're tapping here. Okay, so not making a construct. So they're currently dead on board because we have 12 trample damage and they have 10 power. Or 10 toughness even. So what is the thing they're going to find here? Maze of Ith, presumably. Which is, once again, going to put us into, we need to find a land to win this one. Maze of Ith, there it is. Okay. A land is good here. A Mockingbird. Does that do anything here? If we Swords to Plowshares this, then we get in with these guys, which gives us, what, 12 trample damage, where they can just maze it with this. They don't care about this. So we didn't hit the land. What are we supposed to do about that? We could just jam a Nadu and just have a flying attacker for next turn. But things are getting a little bit spooky for us. Not finding the land is a little bit irritating there, because we just have a really good shot at it if we have the land there. Because we attack with the Trampler and the birds and the Scythecat Cub. So we play the land, put 2 counters on this, then we would attack, and then I guess we have to put 1 here and 1 here. And then whatever they do, they should be dead at that point. If they make a Marit Lage at sorcery speed, we can Mockingbird and get our own version. Because this is any creature on the battlefield, it's not just our creature. If we find a land, we have a lot of Scythecat Cub triggers. Alright, we're just getting mana off of this as a saga. So they're going to get another expedition map and crack it. Okay, they're crop rotationing in response to the 3rd trigger. So they can go and get a new land here. So they can go and get the Dark Depths. There it is. So they can make a 20/20 here. Is that good enough? Again, if we find a land, it isn't, because we can... Actually, no, I suppose they can block 1 and then maze with the other. So we're going to need a bit more. Okay, so they're going to just make the Marit Lage here. And then give it haste. That's pretty good. So that's what? 21 damage, and we block 4 of that. So we are still alive. And we're just in the same situation we were last time of needing to draw a land. I can live with that, I suppose. But if it doesn't work, then we can just Mockingbird. And then we have a 20/20 indestructible as well. I guess they can attack with the constructs. But that doesn't seem ideal either, because we can block, block, block. Let's see what happens here. So we obviously have to block with our poor little Nadu. We should be alive on... Oh yeah, sorry, this doesn't have trample, does it? Sorry. Okay, so we're alive on 18 still. And now we get ourselves our own Marit Lage. And maybe we have a land. We did have a land. Okay, are we right to get a Marit Lage here or not? We could play a Scythecat Cub, have triple triggers. Our opponent's got potentially Swords to Plowshares in hand. If we play the Cub for 3, we can then play the Mockingbird afterwards. But if we're attacking with the birds, that doesn't work. So we put a counter on this. So we put 2 counters on this. We don't get the 2nd trigger. Alternatively, we can put 3 counters on this. If we... We play this for 1, 2... It's annoying the order that you have to do these operations. Is it correct to do this? If they have a Swords to Plowshares, how dead are we? Alright, so we play this out. So we put 1 on the birds. Another 1 on the birds. The birds has got 2. The birds is lethal on its own. Then we can put 1 onto the big boy here. So then we'll do 6 damage here, then 5 damage. Have I messed this up? So this is lethal. We can go for lethal right now. Our opponent has 1 card in hand. Wait, this doesn't work, right? If we attack with this and this, we attack with all 3, then they die, right? Because they Maze of Ith this, block this, take 2. Yeah. Well, then we have it. If they have the Swords to Plowshares in hand, we die. But making the Mockingbird would be like an interesting approach, because we could get a 20/20, but then they could plow it and then bash. So let's say they maze this, they block this, that's fine. So they maze this, block this, and block this. But this is 13 points of trample damage. They have got 12 power. Wait, so that does work, right? They maze, yeah, they maze this, block here and here. No, they block here and here. And this deals them... No, it doesn't work because it's over 2 bodies. They block both here, they die. They block 1 here and 1 here, they die. Yeah, they're just dead, right? Unless they have the plow. Yes, okay. Was a bit worried there for a moment. So there's lots of things that are useful here. Things like Wasteland are actively useful here. Same with Ramnak Excavator. Hitting their artifacts is pretty interesting too. Doing their graveyard, prismatic ending their stuff. There's a lot of stuff here that seems good. I don't think we're playing 4 and 5 drops in this matchup, so those can come out. How useful do I think the Swords to Plowshares are? I think they are fine, but they're not really what I want to be leaning on. So we can take a couple of those out. Sylvan Safekeeper seems good. Keen-Eyed Curator is pretty good. Collector Ouphe can shut down expedition maps. Is that necessarily where I want to be though? I don't think it's that useful. It's fine, but I don't think it's where I need to be. We still need a bunch of cuts if we're taking these things in. We can probably trim like a fetch land or 2 to fit in these wastelands. That could be a little bit sketchy, but we'll see how it fares. Maybe we can't do that. Maybe we can board out 1, but I think doing any more might be a bit reckless. The Mockingbird seems actively great. The Chocobo here seems fine. It's not necessarily the be-all and end-all of where I want to be. Maybe we just get rid of all these plows and just rely on our own Mockingbird action and this prismatic ending instead. We can also chump block with endurance for a turn, which might be enough. So at the moment, we've got like these things in our deck, and it's a case of how many Force of Vigors and Endurances do we want to add to this pile. Maybe we're trimming on a Chocobo, that gets us an Endurance. And then, do I want another Force of Vigor here? I kind of do. Where do we fit this in? Maybe it's one of the Mockingbirds goes and we get a Force of Vigor in. We try something a bit like this. This is a bit piecemeal, more so than I would necessarily like. Maybe we can trim one of the Nadus. Alright, so this is turn 1 Chocobo, turn 2 whatever we want at that point, right? I think this card is actually pretty good. Deceptively good, perhaps. Exploration, this is a pretty good start for our opponent. So we can go and get our basic forest here to make sure that we don't get wastelanded on turn 1. That is annoying that we have to do that, because the value of fetch land in our deck is quite high. But I think we can just play a 0-1. And then we can get our Birds of Paradise in if we want to, or we can get the Scythecat Cub. We could play Birds and Safekeeper. Alright, our opponent is pretty close to Dark Depthing us over there. Where are all these wastelands I put in my deck? So we could how do we want to ramp up the damage here? We could go like Scythecat Cub here, next turn fire in with Flooded Strand. That seems reasonable to me. I think I'll play this. Let's grow our little friend. I don't believe we've given our opponent any reason to have endurances in their deck. Just make another landfall creature. Right, they're wastelanding us straight away. That's fine. We already factored that in. So Scythecat Cub gets the double counters on this Chocobo later on as well. So I reckon we have a good chance of overpowering this. Have they really got endurances in the... Okay, I don't know why they have endurances in this matchup. They should be boarding them out for more removal and stuff, but now we're going to get blown out pretty hard. Okay. And now they can ride this saga. Like, I did even mention the endurance. I just didn't expect our opponent to have it in their deck at this point, because we didn't show them any graveyard synergy because we don't have any. Maybe they just don't have enough cards to like sideboard in a way where this matters. I don't know. Okay, I think we go Flooded Strand, pump the guy. If they have a plow, they probably use it here. A Disruptor Flute. I will crack this land now. And we'll go and get, I think it's Tropical Island. This is annoying because we don't get the double counters here, which is why they're doing it. We only get 1 counter. But this stops them making an Urza Saga construct. And their plan is to Expedition Map, get Thespian Stage, and we just get our own 2020, and that's pretty good. Okay, so they've got nothing over there. We'll just attack for 4. And then I'm going to deploy a Birds of Paradise and a Sylvan Safekeeper. So we can assemble the Nadu combo next turn as well. Because we have the Safekeeper, we can just bin off all of our lands. But I'm kind of expecting our opponent to do something that makes us want to Mockingbird. But they might just hold this up and do it at sorcery speed. At instant speed. I named Scythecat Cubs. We can't play more Scythecat Cubs. We can Green Sun Zenith for Scythecat Cubs, or we can Mockingbird Scythecat Cubs. So we got some juice to squeeze here. Are you going to make a construct? No, you're going to bank on the Thespian stage, I think. If they tap this for mana, that's probably what's happening here. Right, they're going to make a construct. They're going to slow their roll. I think that's correct. Expedition map. They have a Caracas. Alright, so they're just cracking this straight away, and they're going to go and get the Thespian stage. Oh, the Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale. Interesting. Very interesting. What are we trying to preserve here? I don't think we get to Sylvan Safekeeper and protect our Sylvan Safekeeper. I think that just has to go, which is unfortunate. Alright, then we pay for these two creatures. Draw a wasteland? Not a wasteland. Okay. So I can play this Savannah. Put a counter on the Scythecat Cub. We can Green Sun Zenith for 1. What does that get us? Chocobo or Birds of Paradise. We can go and get a Dryad Arbor here and make this guy really large. That seems okay. Not necessarily how I want to use this Zenith, but I think that is a fine use of it still. And then this can chump block if we need to. So we will double the counters here. So this is going to go up to being an 8 power creature with trample. And we bash. And now they don't have a way of making this Dark Depths. They're just living off the top here, and we have a bigger creature. They do have to pay for their guys if they want to have them as chump blockers as well. And they have to do this before they make their draw step for turn. Is our deck actually alright? This is cool. Certainly feels like we're doing legacy stuff. What did you draw, opponent? It's important to note that the Dark Depths is on for mana here. So they, because of the Yavimais, they can cast something like an Endurance. A Blast Zone, so they can tick that up. That's pretty good. So I can make an Endurance and shuffle in their graveyard if I want to. Are you going to attack? No, I didn't think you were. So I'm going to float mana off of this and then let it die. And I'm going to pay for my birds and my cat. A little Chocobo. Not really the one I wanted there. So we had an option of leaving the Dryad Arbor alive and then trying to copy it with Mockingbird to get another landfall trigger. Maybe we get 2 landfall triggers. Ah, did we just miss lethal there? So this would go up to 7, then 14 trample. Yeah, that was a massive spew. Okay, so this is going to go in for a bunch. So I have to put something under the bus here. Okay, they're putting everything under the bus. Still trample over. Yeah, we had lethal there, right? If we pay... No, because we... No, we do have, right? We could have paid 1 to keep our Dryad Arbor alive. And then we pay 1 to have a copy of Dryad Arbor. This puts a counter on it. Pay 1 to have a copy of Dryad Arbor. I could put out this Chocobo. They're not going to blow up the blast zone on the Chocobo, are they? On one, yeah, they're not going to blast zone the Chocobo. So if we go Savannah for this, and we can keep the beats coming next turn. So they're going to put this up to 2 because they have to answer our Scythecat Cub. There's an option there. We play the Mockingbird on the Chocobo. But I'm already all over this shop because I've messed up that last turn. I forgot this could copy the Dryad Arbor. Right, so they're going to blow this. Right, so we're going to pay for our Chocobo. Going to pay for our birds. A Nadu Winged Wisdom. We don't get to do anything here. So I guess we pass. We did board in 4 wastelands, which would be obviously pretty good in this position. Okay, and as a Saga, that's a little scary. That can go and get them the Thespian stage. So we'll pay for our guys here. Are we going to lose this because of our misplay? Possibly. Yeah, this doesn't do anything. We'll just pass. We could just play out the Birds of Paradise, but we know they've got a Blast Zone that they can loan up at some point. Soul Guide Lantern. Sure, be my guest. What are you going to take? They still have a lot of graveyard hate in for our deck that doesn't do anything with the graveyard. But maybe they expected us to be more like White of the Reliquary, Elvish Reclaimer style deck. Right, I'm going to take out the Dryad Arbor. The card that we could have won the game with. Cool. So now they can make a 2-2. What are we doing here? We can play a Nadu. That's pretty good. But they have a Caracas. But if they Caracas bounce our guy, that is just annoying, isn't it? And we can't really do anything about that. What else can we do here? We can make a Chocobo and go wide. So we can go like blue, cast this, done, have it enter as a copy of Chocobo. And then we get 2 hits off of this fetch land. So we can play this, put these triggers on the stack. And if we attack, this is only going to be a 2-2. If they have another endurance, then you got me. We can force through 2 damage here. And then we're pretty close to forcing through more. Am I just wanting 1 damage here? If I get 1 damage... I think we want 2 damage here, don't we? Alright, let's go and get Hedge Maze, I think. Get some Surveil. Savannah. Yep, that's fine. That is more power. So this puts our opponent to 4. They probably cycle the Soul Guide Lantern this turn. But if they make a hasty Marit we can at least block it with the Birds of Paradise. And then we can try and go wide with the Chocobos. Oh, I'm really annoyed at missing that sweet lethal line with the Dryad Arbor earlier. Right, what are they going to do with their Saga? They're just going to crank out some more friends. Because these are going to be 3/4s next turn. And these are going to be 4/4s. This is not the exact number I wanted them to be. But we can make another Chocobo. I don't really want to just keep making Chocobos with this Mockingbird. Because if our opponent makes a Sorcery Speed Marit at some point, we need to be able to copy it. They've got Pithing Needle naming Misty Rainforest. That was not what I was expecting. I'm going to pay for our little Chocobo friends. We draw our land here. Do we want another Chocobo? If we just have 3 2/2s, is that good enough? Or do we just play a Nadu? I think we're just playing a Nadu here, isn't it? If they Caracas, maybe they give us landfall triggers. Alright, let's do this one. Get some Chocobos getting larger. I don't think we're attacking with our 3/4s. Another land and they become 4/5s, then attacking becomes a much better prospect. Right, they're going to bounce the Nadu, which gives us a landfall trigger on both of our guys. It's pretty big news. We can't crack this, but we can tap it for green. If they can make a hasty Marit, then they get us here. But we have 2 very, very lethal threats here. I guess our opponent couldn't get an expedition map, so they got one earlier. Alright, they're in the making their guys smaller phase of the game. This Pithing on Misty Rainforest is really interesting. I don't think that's where you wanted to be there. Alright, they're just scooping it up. And so far, so good. Chocobos reign supreme. Let's go to round 2. For the best Eternal experience this summer, check out Eternal Mania in Hasselt, Belgium from August 8th to 10th. Aside from hosting the European Legacy Masters, they have a whole host of other tournaments from team trios to old school and pre-modern. I will be there playing Legacy and hanging out as a special guest. This will also be the first event that I'll be giving out my own special Marit tokens, so why not come down to enjoy an awesome weekend ran by one of the best TOs in Europe. Alright, we got our little Chocobo friends, sign me up. I'll keep this. So it's probably basic, we could go basic forest, basic island here, and get to do quite a lot of stuff. Although if we get a tropical island first, we can play Chocobo, then next time we play another Chocobo off this Mockingbird, and then we play the fetch land. Although, if our opponent's a Lotus Petal deck, we probably just need to get this Collector Ouphe down as quickly as possible. Getting comboed here could be awkward. So maybe we get the tropical island anyway, so it opens up that option for us whilst also making our opponent think around days. Okay, so we might be looking at 8 casty type stuff. It could still be like paradoxical outcome. What is this? So this enters with a 1/1 attached to it. It's a wizard. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, and whenever you draw your third card a turn, put a +1/+1 count on this creature. Okay. Alright, so they're going to get to pop this off next turn. Wow, they're just making a really big friend here. I think we still go over them with what we're doing, because this card is busted. So let's go get that Nadu action. I had an idea to play this in like a mono blue prowess deck with like Storm Chaser's Talent, bunch of cantrips, and then big Murktides finish off. That'll be on the channel soon, possibly tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow actually, because I think this video goes out on a Friday, but possibly soon. Okay, so this is Tropical Island. Let's go and get Chocobo goodness. Next turn we are probably just playing a Collector Ouphe to shut off most of our opponent's deck. And then at some point we'll be able to answer this. It doesn't have ward, does it? No, it's just a big friend. I have no idea why it's called Diana is the equip thing. I am not a Final Fantasy expert. I played 2 of the games. I played 7 and Tactics. And I thought they were fine. I can remember stuff about them, but not enormous amounts. Alright, Urza's Saga. Yep, that's pretty good. Is there like blue card Force of Will churning our opponent's hand as well? This is a big friend, isn't it? Another Lotus Petal. Wow, they're really just going ham over here. Memory Guardian. Yep. Alright, I think our opponent might be... oh wow, a second Memory Guardian. Jeez. Our opponent has got, what, 12 power in play at the end of their second turn. That is a lot. Now what are we supposed to do here? I guess the Chocobo has to go under the bus. And then we play just the Ouphe and hope that that can get some work done. Just fetch land can kill us. Yeah, this is a little bit awkward. But they don't get to make Urza's Saga constructs. So they're going to bash with a bunch of stuff. I think we have to block here. Otherwise we go to 1. We can play a Nadu, which can block a Memory Guardian. They might just be able to get the Ether Spell Bomb here, and we're not going to be in a position where we can actually deal with that. Making this... We can't make this big enough to survive here, so this is going to have to chump block. Then the Nadu's going to have to block. Yeah, this is pretty worrying. Do I want our opponent to see the white mana in our deck? What white card can we draw? Swords to Plowshares is an important white card we could draw, so I think we do have to get the Savannah, because that's kind of how we get out of here. Okay. So we block here. We have to chump block there, which means we take 3. This feels like Deafening Silence is going to be relatively useful at slowing our opponent's roll here. Shadow Spear. They can't activate it yet, but they're expecting us to lose our Collector Ouphe this turn. Correctly so, I may add. So we have to block here, and this has to block here. And then, what do we draw? Like, Sylvan Safekeeper and just go wild. It's pretty good. Fetch land. Chalice of Void, X equals 1. Okay, fetch land it is. Birds of Paradise. That doesn't do it here, does it? It's just a 1/1, so we can't make a copy of it that matters. We don't have any lands to go for. Yeah. Wowzers, trousers, opponent. You spooked me out there. So, they're an Urza's Saga deck, so Wastelands look good. Force of Vigor looks very good here. Prismatic Ending looks good. I don't even know if we need a Deafening Silence. We just kill the thing that's left over and that's fine. So, these are things I would like in the deck. Again, I think our top end probably needs to come down a bit. I don't think I want an Endurance here. I will keep 1 Keen-Eyed Curator though. The Sylvan Safekeeper is part of our like Nadu combo, so we probably want to keep that. And we're like trimming. Maybe we don't need all the Wastelands if we've got the Force of Vigors. Maybe we can just have a couple of Wastelands, and maybe we trim on like a Nadu. Maybe we do get rid of a Keen-Eyed Curator and just have something just like this. It feels like they're quite beat downy. We don't really know what they're doing. Alright, we'll try this. We'll keep the Traveling Chocobo, and this was the card that we were asked to build around in the first place. Okay. This is a turn to Collector Ouphe. So sign me up, I guess. I think we need to stop what our opponent's doing before we worry about anything else here. So this is Savannah, so we have access to all of our colours. I don't think our opponent's going to be messing with our mana at all. Let's deploy a Birds of Paradise. Lava Spur Boots. Okay. Urza's Bauble. Mishra's Bauble. And it's over to us. Let's get this Green Sun Zenith down. Right, they're going to crack the baubles because they know there's a Collector Ouphe. But if they're doing this, it probably means they're not going to counter our spell. Which is something. They might have something like a Dismember they boarded in though. Got Collector Ouphe. Now what are we trying to do? Probably Scythecat Cub. In Scythecat Cub and Chocobo, play Dryad Arbor. Grow the boys. Right, they're going to be doing some sort of Urza Saga type plan, perhaps. Alright, this is the thing again. The Planisphere. He's going to pop off again. Could do. Not popping off super hard. So we go Chocobo, Scythecat Cub, Dryad Arbor. Am I just trying to make a really large Chocobo? Or are we diversifying our threats here? I think I'm going to diversify a little bit right now because we've still got a lot of life to work with. Our opponent's going to struggle to leverage all the cards in their deck. I'm not going to attack the Collector Ouphe. I think they would take that trade because they can just put this on another creature at some point. We are very much in the Wild West though. New set. First day of a new set. Anything can happen. Alright. So now we have Traveling Chocobo as our option here. Let's deploy the Chocobo. This allows us to look at the top card of our library. It's a prismatic ending. That's not what we wanted. We can't cast this from the top because it's not a bird or a land. Right, I will deploy some Chocobo goodness. And now we get to double up on what we're doing here. So this is going to get 2 counters. Because of the Chocobo, we get to double up everything here. So this is going to become a 4-4, possibly a 5-5. I'm going to... Because the Scythecat Cub is a bigger base, we're going to go for it like this. Diversify our portfolio a little. How many artifacts do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we attack with a 4-5. They have to block. Then we take out the hero token, put some damage on the Urza Saga, and then what? This creature doesn't get to do anything anymore. I think we're okay just to hold. If there's a land on top of our library next time, we really go ham because Traveling Chocobo is gonna... We're gonna have 2 Traveling Chocobos. So we're gonna get many triggers. So our opponent absolutely did their thing and popped off last time, and now hopefully it's gonna be our turn to do the same. I wonder what they get with this. Could be a Pithing Needle, or they could be getting something in preparation for our Collector Ouphe leaving. But Prismatic Ending is a very good way of answering construct tokens. Okay, so they have this. If they can get rid of our Collector Ouphe, they can bounce some other stuff. And attack with 7/7. They are indeed. I will take 7. They're a land on top of a library. There is not a land, but there is a bird. So green, 1, and blue. Let's play this Chocobo. We don't have a land here, which is really irritating. But we do get to Prismatic Ending this construct here. Then we get to go to attacks. So in with some guys. Do I want to trade this Chocobo for their hero token before it grows? We already have a Chocobo and another in hand. I think I'm okay to take that trade. Big hit for 9. Alright, so they're going to grow this hero token. I didn't think they'd want to trade this. But we can just chump block with our Chocobo anyway. We're okay taking that trade. When we're attacking, we may as well take it on the backside anyway. Alright, we need a land on top. A fetch land on top, and this game is over. Alright. We got a Chocobo game. I don't want to do anything differently here. Maybe we do want some Deafening Silence. Maybe we do want more. Maybe we don't need the Mockingbird. We just need another answer for the Urza Saga. Maybe that's okay. Let's try this. Because we can always use a Prismatic Ending and kill their little token as well. I would like to be able to ramp this Green Sun Zenith. But we only have like 4 copies of Birds of Paradise, so that's only a very small. I think we can do better than this though. Like we've got plows in our deck. All right, this is much more like it. We keep this, we get rid of one of the birds, I think. So we can go turn 1 Chocobo, turn 2 Ouphe. Our opponent is mulligan to 5, so maybe the Ouphe will hold, but they may be mulliganing to Dismember because they know that we're green to Zenith deck, so we have at least 5 effective copies of Collector Ouphe in our deck. So they might need to have an answer for it, because it looks like Collector Ouphe is pretty good at shutting down what they're doing. Urza's Saga, yeah, that's pretty good. They're just going to Ancient Tomb and just do that whole plan. I don't think there's any reason we're supposed to play the birds out. Right, we got a bauble here. Are they going to crack this or not? I don't know. A Chocobo. Alright, let's play one of these cute little Chocobos. It is very adorable. Ancient Tomb. Expected. So we're going to shut off this Shadow Spear. So play this out. Grow the little friend. I would have liked to have get some more Chocobo action first, but I think we just need to make sure we're not getting hit by a big Shadow Spear. Have you got Forcible blue card in hand? I don't know how many blue cards I have. We've seen Thoughtcasts. We've seen the little artifact that they're building their deck around. I don't think we've seen anything else blue card wise. I haven't seen anything like an Emery, so I'm not sure they have that. Okay, so next turn, I'm not attacking. Their guy's bigger. We're going to have to take some lumps from this as a Saga, but this Ancient Tomb is hurting our opponent. So we can deploy Chocobo plus birds next turn. So these constructs are going to be pretty meaty. So we're going to have to take our lumps for a little bit. Lava Spur Boots, yep. And there's a Saga. A little bit scary. Alright, I want to draw a Wasteland here. Right, we can't afford to block this right now. Okay, we're getting dismembered on our Collector Ouphe, aren't we? Okay, so our opponent's gone to 12 for that. But now they've turned on all of their spooky equipment. I guess I play Birds of Paradise and pass. This does not feel great. So we have a source of Plowshares we can pop off at something, which is kind of going to undo a lot of the damage our opponent's been doing to themselves with Ancient Tomb. So they're going to make a construct. This gives them 6/6s. Are they going to equip it with a Lava Spur Boots? Feels like they are. I will respond. Get rid of this construct. So they can bash us for 6 here. For 12, sorry. Am I just taking my lumps with this Chocobo? I think so, because next turn they're going to have tramples. It's going to be harder to save that life. Yikes. Wasteland. Okay, that is a real card, isn't it? We could play Traveling Chocobo first, and then play the Wasteland. We could play the Nadu and then play the Wasteland. So we have to chump block here. So I think that means we're playing this little Chocobo to chump block. How are we going to win if we're going slower than our opponents? I don't believe we are. We can't afford to let them have another construct, so we have to take this out. We could take out the Ancient Tomb. I also don't want them tutoring, because this is good for 2 artifacts. So this turn we probably chump block with the Chocobo, and then we still take like what, 6 or 7 damage. A Wasteland. That's probably game right there. Yeah, I don't think we're coming back from here. Oh, is that true? We do have like Force of Vigor. That could get us back in this game if we don't die right now. So I'm going to put 1 on each thing, presumably. Oh no, they're loading it both up on this guy. So I can swing with both. Okay, this is 8. Have you got another artifact? I don't have another artifact. Okay, so we block here. And we go to 1. And then we draw a Force of Vigor. And then everything will be okay. Maybe. I'm not sure it will be. Cavern of Souls. Well, I haven't managed to put Cavern of Souls on Bird yet. So I'm going to put it on Bird. And we'll play the Nadu. And then we'll skip. GG's. Yeah, we kind of just took turns at sending it there. Like, we had some really good draws. Like, if we draw the Force of Vigor over the last couple of turns, then this entire game is probably ours to win. All right, let's see if we can get another round in here. Little Chocobo, into land. Oh, we're kind of doing something here. We do have to choose what the colour we want is. Oh, Bog. Are we just dead? Cabal Therapy. Good luck, opponents. They're going to name Force of Will, and then they're just going to beat us. But still. They're going to know that Endurance is the thing that we have for their deck. Could be a quick round, this one. They name Force of Will. They're passing turns. We at least get a turn here. For all the good it's going to do us. Right, Savannah. Little Chocobo. And then we say go. Next turn we can go Chocobo, fetch land. Grow both of our Chocobos by 2. Which is, you know, this is a pretty reasonable thing to be doing if our opponent isn't just like a turn 1 combat that kind of gets to ignore everything. Fellmire. 3 life. Am I dead this turn? Dark Ritual. Here we go. Is there going to be anything new and exciting in our opponent's deck, or are we just going to get standard Ouphe spells affair? I guess play it while I can. It's almost certainly getting something banned from it in 9 days from when I'm recording. Yeah, just kind of pretty stock looking list there. Okay, so let's see if we can get to play some magic in the other game. Well, basically, when you play against Ouphe spells, one player... Well, actually, no one really gets to play magic, right? That's kind of the problem with it. Deafening Silence seems good, obviously. The Endurances seem good. This is... I don't think we need, like, Mockingbird type stuff. That can get out of here. These cards are too expensive, so they can just go. We don't really need a Sylvan Safekeeper. This gives us access to probably Force of Vigor in case they pivot into Belcher. We'll get rid of a couple of Plows and get another couple of Forces in. I would like a Wasteland here. And I guess we just trim on something like a Chocobo to get a Wasteland in. I think... Do we want these... I think we can probably beat our opponents, like turn 1 Barragoyf. Just have some more Wastelands in here. Maybe the Wasteland should be main, but then it gets a bit awkward number-wise. I think we could just trim some of the cute stuff. Okay, we have to keep this hand because it's the thing that stops our opponent from winning the game immediately. But we do lose to Pact of Negation or Thoughtseize or Cabal Therapy. So, not great. No chance with Vianix type stuff. Haven't seen that out of Ouphe spells for a while. A Wasteland. I don't think we're about that life right now. I think we need something to put pressure on our opponent because eventually they'll assemble stuff to get through what we have here. This just stops the first wave. Like, since they stopped playing the horrible Summoners Pact builds of Ouphe spells, they're just very consistent and can go multiple times. Thoughtseize. They probably name Endurance, I would imagine. They could name Force, because they did see some blue cards before. They named Endurance. Sure. So now we're completely shields down. Cool. Cavern of Souls. We're obviously not going to play that because we don't want our opponent to have perfect information. Maybe we can blag that we drew an Endurance. Or I might even play Cavern of Souls on Elemental. Just to blag the Endurance. I don't think it matters. I think we're just about to die. Jack-O-Lantern. That's probably not what our opponent wants to be spending their mana on. So maybe we got some time here. I'm not going to try and blow this up with the Force of Vigor. That seems like a foolish thing to do. Alright. Let's get our Winged Wisdom going. Yes, there is an argument that we keep this in hand so that we can Charbotch our opponent. But if we do that, our opponent just has all the time in the world and we probably lose anyway. So this can draw a card, right? So they're probably going to cantrip this at end step to put this in the graveyard. Yep, getting rid of our Endurance, just in case we have ways of shuffling it in and increasing the density of Endurances in our deck. Are we dead yet? Cabal Therapy. They know we have the Force of Vigor. This might just be just checking that the coast is clear before they 100% kill us. But if we can draw a Scythecat Cub, or a Green Sun Zenith, or a Sylvan Safekeeper, we have a shot at winning the game, provided we get another turn. Cabal Therapy. They're targeting themselves here, so they're going to put one of their creatures in the graveyard and then presumably cast Reanimate targeting it. So they don't have the mana for it right now. Alright. So we got a turn. Do we get to do anything with this turn? No! Is our opponent going to go for it? 100%. There's no way our opponent doesn't go for it here. So they did bring in the Charbox, so we were right to have this Force of Vigor. This can sometimes hit artifact mana that's like left out. So they should just reanimate, target there, Undercity Informer. Yep, and that's the end of that round. What a miserable deck. Hopefully it'll be getting some bans in 9 days as of when I'm recording this. Alright, let's go to round 4. Right, we're on the play. Our hand is a touch slow, but I think it's fine. Like, we do have a lot of 1-drops in our deck. Not having one is a little bit upsetting, but we can Hedge Maze into Tropical Island and then do some Savannahing to get these sorts of Plowshares on the go. Alright, Misty Rainforest. Let's pop this one out. This also can fetch both our basics. If there's a Blood Moon happening, we can just go and grab whichever basic we think is important. Caracas. Just a naked Caracas. What's going on here? Let's go and find this Hedge Maze. Nadu. Do I want to keep a Nadu around? Right, I'll deploy this Scythecat Cub. We're not getting immediate value off of it, but the removal spells that are generally going to kill it from our opponent are things like Plow, which doesn't matter if it's getting value or not. It's not like we can protect it from lightning bolts on our opponent sat there with white mana. But we have Nadu. Thespian Stage. Okay, we're looking at some landsy type stuff again, maybe. Green-white Depths. Sphere of Resistance. Alright, our opponent is doing a similar thing to a previous opponent. Do I want to play this one out? Or this one? I don't think it matters, does it? Let's just play the Misty Rainforest. The question is, are we going to go and get Dryad Arbor here? I think we probably are. We'll see what our opponent does. Because we don't really want to draw a Dryad Arbor. A Nadu, Winged Wisdom. Now let's go and get a... I guess it's a Savannah here. We tap 4 because of our opponent's Sphere of Resistance. They can obviously bounce us with Caracas, but we get value in that exchange. They might just want to copy the Thespian Stage into something more useful. Just a Plow. A Crop Rotation. Okay. And there's a Saga. So doing this now so that when they go to their turn, it can start ticking up. And we're going to get this Nadu trigger. And we drew another Nadu. Not the ideal one. Right, Saga is ticking up. Ancient Tomb. Yep, you've got plenty of mana there, opponent. They can also copy the Saga with the stage and just have an engine going there. I would like to get a Sylvan Safekeeper down at some point. Easier said than done. A Windswept Heath. Sure, I will play... Am I playing this out? Or am I saving it for triggers in a later turn? Deposit this Nadu. Our opponent doesn't have green mana to do much of anything here, so I'm just going to hold off. So they're going to... Yeah, they're going to use Ancient Tomb here, and then they're going to Caracas our Nadu again. Now, we are drawing an extra card every turn, but they are now accruing a board that's going to be able to crack and take a bunch of health off of us. Right, here comes a Bird's Paralyzed off the top. We have many Nadus, so I'm just going to bin one of them. So we kind of need to get like a Scythecat Cub into play, and then untap, play a Nadu, then we play our land because we have priority. Then we get a Nadu trigger. If they go to Caracas, we then get another Nadu trigger on top of that, and maybe we can just snowball out of control at that point. Quite a delicately poised game, but our opponent is definitely ahead. I'm making a construct here. They're going to tutor 4, presumably an expedition map, and work towards the Marit-Lage combo. There it is. Yep, we take a chunk from the construct. Wasteland. Yeah, that's pretty annoying. They could take out a Dryad Arbor because it's a thing that can chump. They could take out our white source because it's our only white source. They've gone for the Arbor. Green Sun's Zenith, you say? Okay. I think we need to swing big here. So I'm going to go get a Safekeeper with the intention of ripping super hard next turn. So we can go and make a Marit-Lage. And then we can just kind of do our jam here. They're not going to be able to make a Marit-Lage right now. So we're going to get another turn, and then we can try and do Nadu stuff. If they've got a Wasteland, they could get a Wasteland here and keep us off of being able to cast Nadu, but if we draw a land, we can still cast a Nadu. They got a Wasteland. Okay, they just want to keep us away from Nadu rather than assembling a 2020. Lots of interesting lines our opponent has available to them. The Yavimaya. They have an exploration here. Because they've shooted for a thing that they haven't played, which is kind of unusual. They could crop rotate into the Dark Depths here. And then they have more than enough mana to get that going whilst also holding up Caracas. So the Caracas is the thing that can mess with our Mockingbird plays. Another Sphere of Resistance. You got it. So now they're cracking for half our life total. It's pretty good. That isn't what I want here. So we can fire in a Birds, or we can fire in a Plow. We have to fire in the Plow to live. So I guess that's what we're doing, and then the Wasteland is going to be pretty solid here. We should have attacked for 1. We're not blocking with this, but I guess if something really weird happens, like they can pump these enough, then we probably want to keep the Safekeeper around to block. Although I think at that point we're just dead anyway. So this Plow is going to cost us 3 mana, and it means we're going to take 3 damage here. We can do the same play next turn and hope that our opponent isn't getting anywhere. Lots of draws that our opponent has are very strong. Loam and crop rotations being probably the worst for us. Just a Dark Depths is also pretty good. Alright, they're copying the Wastelands. They have more Wastelands. And now they're probably going to fire this off on our Savannah. We're going to get stuck underneath these spheres in a pretty big way here. Okay, so we can hit this construct with a Plow. Rishadan Port. Yeah, you're just really going in at us, their opponent. So in comes this. We get a 2 to crack this and get our Savannah. And we can Plow this. And then they can Wasteland us and then Port us. But if we find a land, we can play a Birds of Paradise. And then we're kind of getting somewhere. Until Tabernacle comes down and ruins our day. Life from a loam, you say? Well, that's pretty terrible for us. Right, goodbye, Savannah. Affinity for Birds. Okay, our Birds of Paradise costs 3 mana, but we'll get it in. Got 1 point of damage in. We did miss 1 point of damage earlier. Hopefully that won't come back to bite us. I suspect we're just on the slow bleed out here and our opponent's going to win this one. Now they've got the Life from the Loam going, they should be fine. They didn't dredge. That's interesting. I guess they just really want to hit an exploration and they've already got lands in hand anyway. Alright, this Ezra Saga is probably going to bury us in short order. They're going to port down one of our things. You got it, opponent. Alright, we're going to cast a Mockingbird, which has to cost 3 mana. This gets us a Birds of Paradise. We can tap for 1 here. So we can start doing Nadu stuff pretty soon. Beseiju. Okay, now we're going to get this Forest. Our opponent's really on this take all our permanents away life. Okay, so now they can start making constructs again. Oh, Wasteland. We knew they had that because they dredged it back earlier, but still. Kind of hoping they wouldn't play it. So 1 land away from playing a Nadu. It's pretty big news. Okay, I guess we're not 1 land away playing a Nadu because they're going to port us over and over, aren't they? So how big is this going to be? Big enough is what you're telling me. Right, I guess we'll get a Mockingbird down. We could have played the Chocobo just to chump block, but I don't think that's a great use of our resources here. So we're going to try and do each other bird. Okay, so this isn't going to actually do anything here. Not going to be able to do much fighting. If they've got the boots of going faster, then I think we're just dead here. We're just never going to get out from underneath this mana denial plan. There's a construct. Is it going to get boots of smashing me in the face? It is. Alright, we can scoot this one up. Okay, we lost a Sphere of Resistance there. That was everything in that game. So Wastelands are useful. The Forces are useful. These things are all useful. This is kind of useful too. I don't think we need the Collector Ouphe. not big into doing plow stuff. These expensive cards just probably have to go. Mockingbird is okay, but maybe we can chill on it a little bit. Chill on this a little. Maybe we don't get to have all of these in. Just have the Force of Vigors. Alright. So the Prismatic Ending can answer a lot more things than a plow can. Maybe on the play could be useful for us here. Okay, I'll keep this. Basic Forest into Chocobo, fetch land. Not bad. Let's go our Basic Forest and play a 0-1 for 1. But it's going to be like a full-on Curd Ape the first time it turns sideways. And then it's going to be like a 3-4, so it's like Tarmogoyf proportions. It's going to be good. There are situations where you can maybe wasteland our opponent off of green and just ruin their entire day, which is something we need to keep our eye on. Because the lands deck doesn't actually have that many green sources. It leans on the Mox Diamonds a little bit to make sure it has everything. Right, Yavimaya, Mox Diamond. Alright, we're not going to wasteland them off of green. He's going to loam here. Exploration, okay. Richtown Port. They're going to port us. Do I want to just wasteland my opponent here? Yeah, I'm down for that. I could just use this to play another Chocobo rather than wastelanding our opponent here. I think that's reasonable. And this way, their port choices aren't great because we can just use their green mana that they're giving us anyway. A wasteland. So they can wasteland our wasteland and then port us. Okay. Okay, and there's a Saga. Happy that we have a wasteland for this. Oh, they're playing something. A choke. Alright. Something that we can play around very easily here. We're not getting anything here, are we? We're just going to go wasteland. Grow our friends. Take out the Saga. Bash for 3. Applying one of our guys. No cards left in our opponent's hand. They're living off the top and they don't have anything going on. Nice. Now we only have a 1-2, but we're going to be able to grow it every turn. I'm going to port us down. Force of Vigor, you say. Alright, we play the Windswept Heath here. We grow the Chocobo. We can go and get a Savannah and... yeah, I like this. We go and get Savannah. I guess we don't have to tap this, do we? So we don't have to make it into a Savannah right now. We can just go Green Sun Zenith for Dryad Arbor here, which will pump the Chocobo again. And then if they want to do any porting, we can just flash in an Endurance in response and get a much bigger clock going. Right, I like our spot here. They saw a lot of Nadu action, so I understand why they have a choke here, but it's not actually that good against us. We can play more or less just on Savannahs. We just get imported again. A crop rotation, you say. This is going to be for an Urza Saga. It is for an Urza Saga. I'm going to smash these things. I'm just trying to work out, do I want to take out the Mox Diamond or is it the Expiration? If it's the Expiration, I think it is the Expiration, because what the Expiration does is it means if they find a life of them alone, they can really pop off in a big way. You're going to port us. So they port us, we Endurance in response. We say no to their graveyard. So a top deck life of them alone is going to take a little bit longer to work. Alright, so now when we crack this, we can hopefully get more triggers off of it. Right, we got 6 damage coming in, 7 damage if we attack with the Arbor. A Ramunap Excavator. I'd like to get that one down, but I don't think we get to have it down just yet, do we? Let's go and get Birds of Paradise here. Oh, my little Chocobo. Is it the Birds of Paradise? I think it is, because then we can just set up the Wasteland lock next turn with our Ramunap Excavator. Who is the Wasteland deck now, opponent? So we missed a few damage by not cracking this Windswept Heath earlier, but we also didn't want to take a bunch of lands out of our deck when we want to draw them. Oh, we just drew that anyway. Sure. I will have this wasteland, please. Alright, our opponent's scooping to us having the wasteland lock. Bit of your own medicine there, opponents. I'm quite happy with how we sideboarded here. I think it's fine. Let's just go in again. Going up to like 26 lands is really interesting as well against a deck that's trying to suppress our mana. I still don't think I want something like the Collector Ouphe. Yeah, we have the graveyard answered. We can ramp out a little bit. We've also got the Force of Vigor. This hand is acceptable. Not exciting, but acceptable. Exploration, sure. You can play out an Urza Saga? No, a Ghost Quarter. Wowzers trousers. Okay, let's get this Tropical Island in and play our Birds of Paradise. We are not going to be fetching our basics because we don't want to get Ghost Quarter out of the game. We're hoping that we can snag something good with this Force of Vigor. I don't really want to pitch my Keen-Eyed Curator to it because this can absolutely jam up what our opponent's trying to do. Right, shutting off their loam engine is huge. A crop rotation. We're going to see a Saga here. We are seeing a Saga. Do I want them to still have mana? We could pitch this to this and blow both these things up. I think we are going to do that. I don't like it, but this play seems like our opponent's floating mana here, so I'm expecting them to try and play like a sphere or something. Alright, just a Shadow Spear. That's fine. We do need to draw action, but our deck is pretty action heavy. So we got ourselves a little Chocobo friend. We can grow our little Chocobo friend. And we can pass. So mana is certainly not an issue this game. So we can go and get our Hedge Maze at end step. Grow our little Chocobo friend. Hedge Maze, please. I think the Hedge Maze is slightly better than the Dryad Arbor here. Like the 1 damage isn't that big a deal. Am I okay with this? Sure. It's not the most exciting, but it's the thing we get to cast. Let's play this Windswept Heath. Let's pump the Chocobo. Not looking forward to getting our creature plowed. But now we've got a little 2-for-1 saved up. If our opponent plays an Urza Saga, we can blow it up before it learns to make mana, so they can't Life from the Loam back anything. That's the dream here. If they do nothing, we just go and get the Dryad Arbor end step. A Nadu Winged Wisdom. It's a pretty good Magic the Gathering card, that, isn't it? Okay, let's grow the Chocobo. Attack. Right, we lose the Chocobo. I'll play out this Nadu. I'm going to use the Birds of Paradise and hold up the fetch land so that we have access to some landfall triggers if we can find a Scythecat Cub or a Zenith. Our opponent's lands deck is a little bit shy of the old land. It felt like when they were doing this play to get the Saga, I'm curious what they were doing with that, because they only had 2 colourless mana, so it's not as if they were going to Life from the Loam immediately. Right, they have Exploration, but they haven't been playing out lands, so I don't think that's an issue. That's not really the one we want here. I guess we just go to attacks. Send for 4. It's a 4-turn clock. We can hold open our Force of Vigor here. Make our opponent think we've got a bunch of stuff in hand that looks good. If they cast a Life from the Loam, we can hit the Exploration just to stop them being able to develop quickly. We're just going to get hit by Dark Depths in the next turn as well. We don't have anything fun to fetch with this Misty Rainforest, so we're not going to. Flooded Strand, you say? That's not very useful. Let's bash. Right, I think I'll play out Windswept Heath. We can go and fetch both of our basics if that feels like a thing we need to do, but with this Ghost Quarter in the wings, I'm not sure it is. White and 1. A Disruptor Flute. Are they going to hit our fetch lands? Or I'll fetch Savannah off of both of these. What would you like to name here? Green Sun Zenith, make it cost 2 more. I don't think that's an issue for us. They could name Force of Vigor. Nomads in Core. Well, 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 opponents. This may come as a surprise, but we're not running Nomads in Core today. I got Forest over there. Nice Onslaught Forest. My personal favourite set for basics. A Choke. I don't even care about that. Do I care enough No, I don't think I do. I'm going to say, do I care enough to blow it up? I don't think so. Alright, let's bash. I'll play out this Flooded Strand. Just have that saved up as more mana. You've got your dead on board. You need something here, opponents. We're definitely getting Brewer's advantage here because our opponent's like leaning on this choke way more than they should. It's just not actually that useful. Life from the Loam, Ghost Quarter, Urza's Saga. Does that matter? They are dead on board. I could blow this up right now and stop them from making a second land drop. Oh, wait, we can only get islands here, can't we? Okay. So before this learns to make mana, we're just going to bop it. I think this means our opponent has a source to Plowshares. Alright, they're crop rotating. That's pretty good. Is this going to be for a Tabernacle? That doesn't do it. Maze of Ith is probably what it has to be, but Maze of Ith in this Nadu is a horrible feeling. Glacial Chasm. That can buy him a little bit of time. A Caracas, okay. So they can get rid of our Nadu here. A Mox Diamond as well. Pitching the Ghost Quarter. We could have hit the choke instead of the Expiration. A Mockingbird. Not the most exciting thing, is it? Alright, you're going to have to Caracas if you want to live here. We get a trigger off of this. A Wasteland. Don't mind if I do. I will deploy the Nadu. I will Wasteland your Caracas, please. So now they can dredge it and play it again, but then they're having to spend their entire time doing this instead of making any land drops that count. Now they can just make a Marit Lage soon. But yeah, so they're going to do this and they're going to get back the Caracas. Yep, and then we're going to just keep getting value. Let's go to attacks. I think maybe last time we were supposed to Mockingbird for Dryad Arbor here. Traveling Chocobo. This is not a legendary permanent. So let's go for Chocobo Town. I can play this land. Sylvan Safekeeper. That is very much a banger. We have played our land. Okay, I'm still playing this Nadu though. So this is blue, and this is green. So if they want to make a Marit Lage here, they still don't have the mana for that. And then next turn we can play the Sylvan Safekeeper and just go a bit wild. But they are dead. So they can make a 2020 1-2. They're going to equip it with the Shadow Spear. They are. Okay. So we're in an interesting spot here. Their shield's down on some things. I will play this Sylvan Safekeeper. I will play this Mockingbird and get myself a Marit Lage. And then we can just start doing the Nadu thing here. So if we target this Chocobo, a Green Sun Zenith. Does that do anything here? Let's target the birds. So we can Green Sun Zenith here for... What can we Green Sun Zenith here for? 1, 2, 3. Let's Green Sun Zenith for... I think it's the Cub. Play a land out here. I'll put a trigger onto our Marit Lage. Put another trigger onto the Marit Lage. And we'll put a trigger onto Scythecat Cub. And Scythecat Cub. Onto Nadu. There's so many triggers here. So we can Wasteland this Caracas. That seems like a good start here. We can Endurance our opponent after they do a Life from the Loam. Do we need to play out a Birds of Paradise? I think we probably do, just in case. This is going to trigger next turn. I don't know, maybe there was a way that we could have fired off that Force of Vigor, but I think we're in a really, really solid spot here. So you can dredge your life from the loam, and then when you target it, I'm going to Endurance. Pitching Scythecat Cub, I think. We don't need another Cub. And then we can get rid of the Choke and the Shadow Spear, and then all of a sudden all our lands become unlocked. Let's exile this. They know we have the Endurance, so it isn't a surprise for them. They also know we have this Force of Vigor, I think. Lots of things revealed to the Nadu. This is a pretty cool looking board. A Maze of Ith. Okay, are they going to attack or are they blocking here? I don't think either works for them, to be honest. I'm going to Force of Vigor, get rid of this Shadow Spear and this Choke. Right, and our lands on tap. And then we have very, very lethal damage here. So we can play this. So we can put a counter on Nadu. Our opponent's on 2. They have a Maze of Ith. But I don't think that matters here. Right, so we can crack this. I think we have a Tropical Island we can fetch. We could have played the Birds of Paradise off the top, to be fair. Right, let's pump this Dryad Arbor. Let's pump this Sylvan Safekeeper. Alright, our opponent's had enough. And I don't blame them. This deck is pretty cool. Right, 1 round left. We are currently 2-2. Not bad for a first draft. Let's see what the final round brings. Okay. Forest, Birds of Paradise, turn to Scythecat Cub, fetch land. Yeah, seems pretty good. Obviously, we can just get bopped by a turn 0 combo deck, whatever. Why are we just queuing into nothing but lands today? What a weird world we live in. Alright. I don't like that Tabernacle being over there. Let's go for birds. Just get ahead mana-wise, because our opponent's going to be trying to constrict our mana, I'm sure. Green mana, they're going to crop rotate. They are. Why are they doing this in response to the birds? Getting Thespian Stage. That's a little bit spooky. Are we just getting Marit Lage like super early doors? If they're all in on a Marit Lage plan and we just have the plow, that's pretty good. Now if they have a life from the loam to grind back in, that isn't great for us. So I guess we play out the Scythecat Cub here. And then we deploy the Misty Rainforest. This allows us to get going with a Swords to Plowshares. Our opponent shouldn't be able to combo this turn unless they have like a piece of fast mana along the lines of Elvish Spirit Guide. Which would be unusual to see in something that looks like a Mox Diamond lands shell. That's normally something you'd see if you were seeing like Lotus Petals instead of Mox Diamonds. A Disruptor Flute. I will crack this and go and get a Savannah. I will grow the Cub. Wonder what they're going to name here. They could name Swords to Plowshares. Which kind of means that we have to hold open loads of stuff for our next turn. Because it's, what, 2 more? 3 more? 3 more. So we have to hold open everything. But I guess we'll still be bashing for 5. If they do that. Swords to Plowshares. Yep. Our plow is going to cost us 4 mana. But it's better than dying. Now we do have options where we don't even do the plow plan. Exploration. Okay. We could just play some more stuff and try and block with the Birds of Paradise. Alright, this does not look like a person who's going to be comboing us this turn. So this turn we can just chuck a bunch more material down. Nomads in core. You got it, opponent. I'm getting a lot of value out of people not knowing what we're doing today. Which always brings me some joy. Chocobo. I'll play this. Do I want to get another Chocobo first? Would I rather have 2 Chocobos or would I rather have a landfall trigger right now? The landfall trigger right now makes it easier to cast Swords to Plowshares. I could go and get the Keen-Eyed Curator. That's pretty solid. I could go and get Collector Ouphe and just shut our opponent off of coloured mana sources. That's spicy. That's a spicy one. Let's do that, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we do have Swords to Plowshares around a wasteland. Cool, they have a Saga. That could be annoying in the future. But at the moment they can't activate it. Because Dryad doesn't tap for mana. Scythecat Cub. Do I think our opponent can produce one additional mana this turn? No. So I think I'm going to play Scythecat Cub here. And then play the Cavern of Souls. I'm going to name Bird. And then we will put a counter on this. And another counter on this. And we can swing for, not you, Birds of Paradise. So we've got an emergency blocker if we need it. I don't think our opponent's going to do anything though. Yeah. Okay, so now we've got a lot of ability to just kill our opponent here. It's quite funny that our deck is a landfall deck, and we are certainly the fall of the lands decks. Okay, so we've seen this before. So we want some... I'm afraid these Chocobos have to go. So we want the Prismatic Ending, we want the Ramunap, we want some Force of Vigors and some Endurances. We're not into the Plows. We don't want those. We trim on one of those. We don't need a Collector Ouphe. And maybe we don't get all of these, so we just have 2 Endurance in our deck. Do we need the Force of Vigors? I think I'd rather have an Endurance than a Force of Vigor here. Just because it can block a Marit Lage for a turn. Yes, we could just try and have some Plows for that. Maybe a Plow is better than this Endurance. We'll see. We're hoping that the Wastelands can do enough work. Alright, turn 2, Traveling Chocobo. I'm down to clown with this. Also got basics to play on, which is usually pretty good against the land strategy. Alright, and there's a Saga. I would like to draw a Wasteland, please. Birds of Paradise or Little Chocobo Friend. I think it's just the birds. We just need to make sure that we're getting our mana out in front of us. Yavimaya. Do they have... Okay, Malevolent Rumbles. They're not trying to activate their Saga this turn. What do they reveal? So they get 1 card here. Okay. This is unfortunate that we can't quite mess with their graveyard right now. We could draw an Endurance. That would be a pretty good one. Because they got this Loam, which is a little bit spooky for us. Okay, so are we just going to be playing the Traveling Chocobo? I think we are. I'm not 100% sure that's the most correct thing we can do. But people came here to watch the Chocobo. So we're putting some Chocobos out. We've got a game in hand. So we've got a little bit of wiggle room. They're probably just going to be dredging now. Yep, so there is a Saga in there. This Saga is pretty much spent. So they're probably just going to... They could make a construct here by sacking the Eldrazi spawn. Or they could float for mana and then use that towards casting the Life from the Loam. It taps for green, so it actually is pretty useful coloured mana. Right, they just want green mana. They could also crop rotate in response. Okay, they pitch the Otawara. Hopefully we can just generate lots of card advantage from this Traveling Chocobo. Also, our little Sazh Chocobo is going to be popping off in a big way. Maybe we just go and get another one. Just play 2 Chocobos, play this fetch land, go wild. Life of the Loam, getting back some boring things. Sure, you've got the boring things. Enjoy. Saga, Mighty Fine Magic the Gathering card you have there. But wouldn't it be a shame if you got attacked by a bunch of derpy looking birds? Brings me joy. See what we draw off of, or see what's on top of our library and see if that changes what we're doing. Disruptor Flute. You name Nadu? What? I don't know. This isn't revealed. This is just something I look at, so I can't just name a fetch land knowing it's coming. Force of Will. Swing and a miss, opponent. So, what are we doing here? I think we go and just get a Chocobo first. So, this is green and 1. So we go and get the Sazh Chocobo. We've got a bird on top. Okay, so then we will play this Chocobo. Then I will deploy this fetch land. We will yield to these triggers. I will... Do I want to play this Birds of Paradise? Or do I want to high roll? I want to high roll. Let's go and get... Should probably just be a Dryad Arbor. I'll get Savannah. And there's still a Birds of Paradise over there. Yeah, doubling our Chocobo landfall triggers pretty good. We've got Scythecat Cub for next turn as well. These will be swinging as 6/6s, which is going to be bigger than the constructs our opponent can muster. So if their plan is just to make constructs, it's not going to be amazing for them. Now, I can go and get an expedition map next turn and try and do some tabernacle stuff, but hopefully we just have enough stuff in play that it doesn't matter. Okay, Dark Depths. That is a little spooky. We've got 2 Birds of Paradise for the purposes of chomping it. Would like to have a fetch land underneath the Scythecat Cub, though. They have a Thespian stage in their graveyard, so something they can work towards. Still on 17. I guess we could try and play something like an Aboro in this deck, maybe. Okay, we did have a fetch land on top of our library. That's good news. Okay, let's get this Scythecat Cub. Let's play this land from on top of our library. Okay, I think we probably want to grow the Scythecat Cub here. Although we could put a counter on each of these. And then whichever one isn't blocked, we can like double its power twice. And that's probably lethal. Well, this is cool. Oh no, that's the second time it's triggered, isn't it? That doesn't quite work the way I wanted. So how big is this going to be? If they sack this, they make a 3/3. Don't want to trade my Traveling Chocobo for 3 damages here. They can put this under the bus here. It takes 7. Trade off their guy. I think we need to push damage here. I forgot this is the second time his ability resolves. So even if it's copied, it's still the second time. But we can put a counter on this so it lives in combat. Or rather, we can put 2 counters on this so it lives in combat. 4 green mana. What is this? Oh, we're getting a crop rotation here. Ah, so going for a Marit Lage kill. I see. We've got plenty of Birds of Paradise. We just need to dodge like Trample or Sajiri Step type shenanigans. So this is going to block our big boy. We'll crack this for... I don't know what we should crack it for. Probably a Trop? Do we need a Hedge Maze here? What could we find? We could draw another bird of some description. Like a Nadu is a pretty good top deck here. So I guess we get Trop. And we'll pump our little Traveling Chocobo. I guess they can just tutor for protection here, can't they? And then they can just get through with the Marit Lage. I assume they're going to see this line. Yeah, so they get the expedition map, they crack it, then they play Sajiri's deck, get pro green, attack for 20, kill us. I think this is a matchup that we have proven is pretty good for us so far. Maybe they'll choose the wrong colour and we'll be fine. It did in fact choose the correct colour. Alright. Marit Lage, getting it done. Okay. I didn't really see our Wasteland plan, so I'm quite happy to go back into that. Would I prefer this? I think Endurance is better than a Plow. I like the Mockingbird. Maybe we're not as big on Force of Vigors as I thought. Maybe we'll have a couple of Plows instead. And try that. I would like to get Choco in play, but I don't think we can, in good conscience, board this back in. Like, some of the stuff we're doing is good. Some of it, not so much. Alright. I believe. Like, all of our lands tap for better colours down the stretch. These Wastelands can completely undermine what our opponent's doing. If we can keep them off of 2 mana from Life from the Loam, or we can keep them off of the key pieces they're trying to rely on to survive, that'd be pretty good, and we just got a growing threat in the meantime. I don't think our opponent is on a Sphere of Resistance build. That's why we boarded out the forces. Once upon a time. Okay, a Mox Diamond. That makes our Wasteland look a little bit less exciting. Sky on the Boseiju. They're playing a Tabernacle. Very rude. Well, we weren't going to do anything with that mana anyway, were we? I'll play the Wasteland. We'll go the Chocobo. Take out the Tabernacle. And crop rotating it. Of course you are. A little bit awkward. Well, they're going to put in a Thespian Stage. Okay. Let's crack in with a Chocobo for 1. Life from the Loam. Have they not targeted anything here? It says they don't have any targets. They didn't want to get back anything. That feels like a massive error. There is a Dark Depths. We know they've got a land that taps for mana. Okay, I will play out another little Chocobo. Play out a Wasteland. I will bash for 2. See what my opponent's up to. Life from Loam, targeting the things that they were supposed to before. Sure. There is a Tabernacle. Am I wastelanding this? Am I paying? I think I'll wasteland it. I think our window on this game is slowly evaporating. I guess I'll play this Dryad Arbor. We'll bash for a bunch. So we don't want this Savannah to be played out into a wasteland that we know that they have. So they can make a 2020 this turn. We can make our own version of a 2020 if we draw a blue source. And then plow theirs. And that's pretty good. Alright, we didn't draw the thing we needed there. So I'll play this land out. Grow our Chocobos. Our opponent is going to set themselves back a ways here. Oh, I'm supposed to attack with a Dryad Arbor. I'm missing a point of damage here. That's annoying. Alright, so they're going to make the Dark Depths. They're going to gain 20 life. But they're going to lose 2 lands. They got crop rotation here. They do not. Or at least they don't want to use it. So we hit for 7. It's not an irrelevant amount, is it? What are we doing here? Life from the Loam, get back your combo, deploy it in a couple of turns' time. Yep. So they can play out the Tabernacle if they wish. Yep. You got Tabernacle there, opponent. So we say no to the Dryad Arbor. You were just a landfall trigger, that's all you were to me. Pay for the Chocobos, my sweetheart little birds. A Ramunap Excavator. Not the one I want for now. So this turn they play out like Thespian Stage, then they get cracked for 7, then they play out Dark Depths, and then they make a 2020, and then we're kind of cooked. Maze of Ith, okay, that's pretty good too. A Hedge Maze, I will take it. This can go into the graveyard, we've already got one of these, I don't need another one. So I only get 4 damage through this turn because of the maze. 1 mana 5/6 though. Eat your heart out, Nethergoyf. And Endurance. You chump blocking with an Endurance? You're going to shuffle these lands back into our deck for us? You are. Oh, that was nice of you. And the Dryad Arbor. That's kind of... That's a wild play to me. Like, they're obviously, you know, just kind of treading water, but I don't think you shuffle back in them. Putting Dryad Arbor back in our deck so we can Green Sun Zenith for it and get landfall triggers is a real strategy. Dark Depths. Okay. Endurance. Curious. I guess we just swing the little creatures in. Maze of Ith. Sure. And take 4. Life of the Loam is in their graveyard. We could nab it right now. I think that is the play here. If we double these counters, so this goes up to... That's still not good enough. Yeah, we've been the Ramunap Excavator because we don't have any lands doing anything right now. There's no cards in our graveyard. Obviously, Ramunap is the one card we draw that makes a difference. Alright, is our opponent going to get cheeky? Oh, we need to pay for these, don't we? Nearly forgot to pay then. So our plan here is Misty Rainforest. Get some triggers. Go to attacks. Hopefully they make a Dark Depths to block. And then we make a 2020 of our own. I will force through some more damage. What land am I fetching here? Is another blue source because we have double Mockingbird? I think so. Okay, we don't get to force 3 damage because of the maze. Who's the Marilage player now? I will have a Marilage, please. Caracas beats us. Crop Rotation beats us. Shadow Spear probably beats us. They don't need to pay for this because it's indestructible. Because Tabernacle is a destroy. It's destroy this creature unless you pay 1. Marilage can't be destroyed because of indestructible. But let's hope our opponent makes a mistake here and pays for it. Seen it happen a fair amount of times. But yeah, there's lots of things that beat us here. They're paying. Alright. Someone relatively new to lands, I would say. Which would explain some of the choices that I've seen them doing here and there. Like the... Oh, I just had the... This is Jerry Step. Sure. Alright, they just had it in hand. Okay, so we went 2-1 against lands, and then we lost to some other decks. How do I feel about this one? Honestly, pretty good. I think some of the stuff we're doing here makes a lot of sense. I think it was quite difficult to leverage Nadu, but we did have that one game where we did leverage it and it absolutely popped off into the sun, and that was really nice. I think Bartz and Boko and Choco Seeker of Paradise should probably not be in the deck. You could put this into a purely blue-green deck. So you could drop the swords, you could drop Choco and Bartz, and that gives you 6 slots to play with. So we could put in some more stuff that combos with Nadu. So there is a green elf where you can pay green and target creature gets trampled until end of turn, which is going to be pretty good with these, to be honest. But it also means that we have the ability to target our Nadu. So we probably want to get a Cradle in here as well. Maybe an Elvish Reclaimer. I think, you know, there's some stuff here. Obviously, the donor wanted to see Traveling Chocobo, and because it's the very first day playing with these new cards, I thought we'd include a couple of other ones, so I wanted to dip into white for this. But I think playing just a straight green-blue, so like Cradle Control, but we're playing blue so that we can have a Nadu combo instead of having like white of the Reliquary, that makes a lot of sense to me. It does mean we're a little bit sketchy, I suppose, because how we're going to interact with our opponents, because white is obviously an interactive colour. We've got some key sideboard cards as well. We can find some different things, you know, maybe we're playing Spell Pierce or whatever. But honestly, this felt like there's a real deck in here somewhere. I thought this Chocobo was pretty good. As long as we're making land drops, it's pretty good. Maybe we just want to have more land drops in our main deck. So maybe we want to go up on fetch lands. So maybe we cut the Cavern of Souls for a fetch land. Maybe we add the Wastelands to the main deck. So instead of Source Plowshares, bang in some Wastelands. Honestly, you could play Exploration in the deck like this. Or like a creature that lets you play multiple land drops. Because it did feel like we had the ability to really pop off. Like Traveling Chocobo plus this or the Scythecat Cub went really hard. I was amazed at how hard it went. So there's definitely some stuff that we can be looking at here. Mockingbird was something that we're trimming quite often. It was a nice thing to have. You know, it's a bird we can cast off at the top. It became Marilage quite a lot because we had some weird matchups. But I definitely think there's a real deck in here, which is pretty cool. And I'm probably going to have another crack at this at some point in the future because it was really fun. Alright, I hope you liked this one. Please remember to like and subscribe. That way you won't miss any of the upcoming content with new cards that I'm putting out. And, you know, it helps the channel out. Alright, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.